Hey folks, SQL LeetCode problem 176, second highest salary. So in this one, it's a pretty interesting problem. We don't want to jump right into the solution, but what we have to do is write a solution to find the second highest salary from the employee table, which is this. It's going to have an ID and salary. And you want to pay attention to these other, kind of disclaimers. So if there's no second highest salary, return null or return none in pandas. In this case, we're going to do it in SQL. So that's one thing to note that if there is no second highest salary, we do want to return something, right? It can't just be nothing. It has to be essentially a null value. So keep that in mind. The other thing, as we get into the solution, we're going to really kind of need to understand what type of rank function we're going to use if we are going to use a rank function. So let's dive into this problem and just kind of go through it. So in a sense, this is our input table. So we have an ID and we have a salary. Now, if we want to be able to pull the second highest salary, we need to basically come up with some kind of way to maybe have an additional column that's going to help identify whether this is the first highest salary or the second highest salary, and do it in an accurate way where it takes into account that maybe multiple employees can have the same salary, or maybe in some cases you might not even have more employee than just one. So let's, with that said, let's get into the solution. So we are going to be pulling from the employee table. We know that much. And really, our focus is really just on salary, right? The ID has nothing to do with how we're going to do this ranking. So let's say we had a table to start off with that's going to have our salary, and it's also going to have some sort of rank function, like I mentioned, right? And I'll do a separate video on this, but we have different options to choose from, whether it's rank or dense rank or row number, right? Those are the three kind of main ways that you would want to use a rank. And in this case, we want to make sure we're using the correct approach. So let's say, let's maybe draw this out as well, right? So I have IDs, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I have salary, just really kind of replicating what you see down here. So we have a salary of 100, then 200, then 300. Let's say ID 4 also has 300. Let's say ID 5 has 500, right? And we want to come up with something where, based on the salary, as I can easily tell whether it's the first, highest or the second highest. So in this case, right, let's say two employees have the same salary. And again, the focus is on salary. So how would you rank this? Would you say this is now 3? No, right? You would want this to be 2 because it's the same salary ultimately. So that's when you kind of have to really explore these different options. So between dense rank and row number, and again, I'll talk about this more in another video. If I was to do row number, then these ranks would be truly unique, and you would get something like 3 here. So you'd have, two different ranks associated with the same salary. That's not what we want, right? So we're going to take row number out of the picture. Really, we want an output like this, where, okay, 200 is the third highest, and then 100 is the fourth highest. So then it comes down to, would you use dense rank or would you use rank, right? So to achieve something like this, which is probably more ideal, you would use dense rank. The reason why is because you would have rank 1, and then you have rank 2, and then you have rank 2 again, but immediately after, you'll kind of go back to 3 incrementally. Whereas if you use rank, you would have 1 over here, you'd have 2 again, you'd have 2, fine. But then it would say, okay, now it's time to bring in 4. It's going to jump that 3 because instead of 3, you have 2 here. That's just how, the rank function works. And ultimately, this is how the end solution is going to look. And then let's say I wanted to select the third highest salary. Well, there is no third highest salary, even though there is, right? The third highest would be 200. So for that reason, rank also would not work. So really the best option here would be to use dense rank if you are using ranking to perform this. So let's get into our code now. Now that we know that, we're going to use dense rank. Again, that's going to be the function. And we're going to, how am I ranking this, right? I'm ranking it based on salary. So I'm going to order by salary in a descending fashion, and then give this an alias, right? So we'll call it rank or or rank highest, right? Make it more clear. And now that I have this, let me comment this out, by the way, so that when we run this, we don't have any issues. Now that we have this, right, think of this as a table where you're just going to have your salaries, right? You're going to have your 100, 200, 300, 300, 500, and then you have the corresponding ranks, right? Now that you have that, you can easily say, give me the second highest salary. And to do that, we can maybe put this in a CTE, right? A common table expression. Highest salaries. So I have a common table expression now called CTE, highest salaries. And let's close this off here. Let's maybe make it look a little bit prettier, like so. And again, now I have basically, a materialized view, if you could call it, with my salaries and the corresponding ranks. So we can actually say, pull from this new view that we've created, essentially, not really a view, more of a common table expression. But, and I want the salary. Where, again, I want the second highest, right? And this is why this approach works better than some of the other options out there, because it's scalable, right? In the future, if I want to be able to say, give me the third highest, I would just have to go in and update this number. I wouldn't have to do anything crazy. So that's why, this is more of a scalable approach. So now that I have this, this is all that we need. But again, remember, one of the first things that we called out was, if there's no second highest salary, return null. So what's going to happen here? If you look at these different test cases, right? Test case 2, if I have something like this where it's just one row, just one entry, right? One employee with one salary, and then I perform this, what is this going to return, right? And we can actually try this. Well, actually, it's probably going to be successful. But if we were to try this with test case 2, what's going to happen is it's just not going to return anything. There's going to be no return data whatsoever. However, the requirement here is to return null. So one of the ways to do that is you can use an aggregate function, because if you're using an aggregate function, it's going to return null even if there's no underlying data. So all we're going to do here, instead of salary, I'll just say max salary. Again, the only reason I'm doing this is so that so basically it could aggregate on top of having no data. The other reason why is because of the way this is structured, you might actually get multiple rows. So by doing it this way, and let me just give this an alias, so something like this. By having it structured this way, this is going to tackle that problem. It's going to rank correctly, but it's also going to give you nulls, because that's, it's going to give you a null if there's no corresponding data to support that criteria. So let's go ahead and run this, and hopefully we should be good to go. Accept it, and I'm going to submit. Looking good, and that's how you do it, and that's how you beat 98% of the competition. So there you go.